Hey everybody, welcome back to our homeroom. I hope your school year has started off and is going in a good direction. I know here in Florida we're finishing up quarter 1 and there's a lot of panic to get all those missing assignments turned in and to try to get those grades up by report card. So good luck to you. Hopefully that's going well. In my last episode, I shared some tips to help our kindergarten through 5th grade students get ready for middle school. You know, what are the things you need to do to get those students ready to have a little more independence in middle and high school? You want them to have ownership, right? I think the thing I hear most parents that what they're frustrated with the most is that their students just don't seem to take ownership or take responsibility for things like chores and school. So my last episode just really tried to help you give you some tips for those kindergarten through 5th graders and what you can do to help them become a little bit more independent and take a little bit more ownership for school. So today what I'm going to do is help you if you have a 6th to 12th grader who you also still don't feel like is taking enough ownership or responsibility for their schooling, or you don't feel that they're really very independent. I am going to give you some tips today to help get them ready for after high school, which I know is a scary thought, right? But there are some qualities that you want to make sure that you're fostering now with your children so that by the time they graduate, they are able to go out into the world and be successful. So I'm going to give you a few tips today on just some qualities that maybe you're going to want to promote, how to promote those qualities, and how to get started with doing that. So if you haven't already, make sure you check out my links below, because if you're not watching on YouTube right now, I do have a YouTube video where I do have visuals for you. Or you can download the free worksheet on my website, and that will have some visuals that you can follow along. It also has some of the homework questions that you can take and review those over with your partners to get you guys on the same page. So I try to give you as many resources as possible to help you integrate all this information into your life. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into school success secrets for grades 6 through 12. So when you start to think about the fact that your middle or high school student at some point in the next several years is going to be venturing out into the real world, how does that make you feel? For many of us, especially of course if they're younger, there might be a little bit of panic or a little bit of worry about what's going to happen to them. If they don't seem to care about school now, how are they going to care about bills and keeping up with their apartment and their cleaning and their laundry and all those things, right? So it is a good idea to start thinking about what you can do to use their schooling, to help get them prepared for that real world scenario. So let's start with just imagining the best version of your child. So if you think of your middle and high school student and you try to imagine them at 18 to 20, somewhere in that age, what is the ideal version of them that you can imagine? What kind of qualities do they have? How are they going about life? What kind of choices are they making? What have they chosen to do for their career? Are they going into college, or are they going to do vocation or right into work or an internship or traveling first? So what is the best version of your child that you can imagine at 18 and 20? Who do you want them to be? And what kind of qualities do you want them to possess? So it's a really good idea to kind of keep that vision in your head and then kind of line it up with today. Are you doing the things that you need to make sure you're doing to get them lined up to be that version of themselves? And for some things you may be really good at, and like all of us, some areas we're not quite as good at. So today I'm going to go through what I have found to be the most important qualities throughout my research and my experience with my friends who have children in college, other students I know in high school, and what those families are going through as the 4 most important qualities that our children should have as they get ready to go into the real world. So one is confidence, right? You want them to be able to feel good about themselves, go into the world and know that they can trust themselves. I love, if you have not checked into Dr. Becky, she's got some really great parenting advice. And one of the things she says is that confidence is self-trust. So we want our children to trust themselves. That gives them confidence that they know they can rely on themselves. So that is one quality that's, I feel like, really important. We want our children to feel that they can trust themselves, because they're going to only have themselves to really rely on, or we want them to rely mostly on themselves once they're 18 to 20. Another really important quality is drive. We want them to have ambition. We want them to have some kind of passion towards something, to kind of have a direction, know where they want to aim for, right? So we want that drive and that ambition. We also want them to have perseverance. When things go wrong, are they going to give up, or are they going to be able to push through all of those things that happen? Because life, we know, is ups and downs, and they're definitely going to hit a lot of downs once they're 18 to 20. I know when I think back to when I first started college, that was overwhelming. And there were definitely things that challenged me that I didn't expect. So having perseverance is really important for that time of their lives. And then, of course, the last one, independence. Kind of goes along with confidence. You want them to do things on their own. You want them to want to do things on their own and not feel like they have to rely on you for things. So when it comes to those four, confidence, drive, perseverance, and independence, I've come up with a few question prompts to think about each of those qualities, to reflect on the way you're parenting, to see if it lines up with promoting these four. So for instance, for confidence, how are you showing your child that you believe in them and you trust them? They can't build self-trust if they don't have a parent already modeling that they should trust themselves. So are you trusting them? Are you letting them know you believe in them? Do you give them credit where credit is due? When they do something really well and they really obviously worked hard at it, whether it turned out good or not, you know that they know they put a lot of work and effort in, and they may be proud of it. Are you giving them that credit? Are you celebrating them when they're putting in effort and they're trying things, and they're going outside their comfort zone a little bit? And then how often do you let them lead? Because if they're leading, then they're having a chance to show you that you can trust them, and to build trust in themselves, right? So letting them take initiative on something and letting them lead. So all of those are really great prompts to help you decide, are you really fostering confidence in your child? When it comes to drive, how are you allowing them to explore their own interests? They're not going to know what they have passion for if they're not able to explore those passions when they're young. Are you pushing them to try different things, but things that they want or are pulled towards? You don't want to necessarily push them into things that you want them to do. You can suggest, obviously, offer, maybe make them try, because sometimes they're resistant. So maybe say, hey, just try this once or twice. But giving them voice and control over the things like their education, right? The electives that they have at school, the sports that they try, the clubs that they try, even things like friend activities. Are you letting them have a lot of choice in that? Or are you more dictating to them what you think would benefit them? The more they can try things, fail at those things, the more they figure out what it is they like. I do really believe that children are born with passion towards the things that they are meant to have passion for. I have seen it so many times, and I know I can apply it to my own life. When I look back to the things that I had passion about, they always have led to me where I am now. They have always been beneficial. And the things that I hated, like math, had absolutely no effect on my future life. So trust your child and the things that they're interested in. They have a little bit of an innate wisdom there. They know what they're here to do, or they know what those passions are. Let them explore those. And then, are they allowed to say no to the things that you think they will like? It doesn't mean you can't keep trying, because sometimes we are resistant to things that really we do end up liking. But after they've tried it and they don't like it, are you okay with them saying, I don't like this, I've tried it and I really hate it, and then letting them get out of whatever that is? So you want them to explore those interests on their own. As far as perseverance, How often have you let them fail while encouraging them on the side, not berating them for the failure, not trying to stop them from failing, right? But letting them fail and being encouraging on the side, letting them know it's okay, right? Do you promote mistakes as normal and help them through those down times? Mistakes are absolutely normal. Failures are normal, even if it's because of something they did that was irresponsible. That is still a lesson. That is still a mistake. Now, maybe they'll learn they should have studied harder, but you pushing them to study so that they don't make the mistake is actually more damaging. Let them not study, let them not do well, and then don't berate them for that choice. Just say, well, that's crappy. I'm so sorry that that didn't work out for you. What can you do better next time, right? You want to support them on the side when they make those mistakes and make those choices that you think or know aren't going to work out right. That's okay. That's part of it. And then as far as independence, how much do you let go? How much do you pull back and let them figure it out? Have you stopped monitoring school? By 6th to 12th grade, you should not need to monitor too much. They should be pretty self-sufficient and independent by 6th grade. Do you allow imperfection? Have you given them choice and control so they can find their own way? So independence is kind of a mix of all those three above, like giving them choice, giving them an opportunity to choose what they want to do or don't want to do, let them mess up from those choices. Stop monitoring schools, pull back and let them know you trust them to figure it out. So giving them independence is also going to help give them confidence and drive and perseverance. So these 4 things are the most important qualities that I feel your children need in order to then be successful at 18 or 20 years old. So then how do you do that? What are some things you can do besides reflecting on those questions? I have some tips on specific things you can do to promote confidence, drive, perseverance, and independence. So let's get into that next. So if your children are not already showing all 4 of these qualities, or maybe they've got 3, but there's one that could be a little bit better, I'm going to go through some tips that you can use to promote these 4 things here at home. However, I will say that what they all have in common is some form of parental pullback, right? It's time to kind of step back into a navigator position, not in the driver's seat. Once your children get to 6th to 12th grade, you are literally the person on the side. You are no longer driving the wheel. You can help give them suggestions for where to go. You can support them. You can provide them those snacks on the side to help get them through. You can encourage them, say, you got this. I know it looks like a rocky road ahead, but I think you can do that. You can do all of those things, but at this point, you shouldn't be taking control of that wheel. In fact, I've seen a lot of patterns for parents who are trying to take that wheel from those children, from those 6th to 12th graders. They'll either have 2 reactions to that. They'll either let you take the wheel. They'll take their hands off and just say, that's fine. Mom's just going to do it for me, or dad's just going to do that for me. So then they completely step back, and then you're over there off to the side trying to steer, and it's not easy, right? Because you're on the sidelines. You're not going to school every day, right? You're not in the driver's seat, but you're trying to drive on the side, and it's just a bad thing all around for everybody, right? Or they'll fight you. That fighting could be passive power or active power, but they could be trying to like nudge you back off the steering wheel, or they could yell at you and say, leave me alone, So you don't want either of those. So if you notice your child is withdrawing from school, or you notice your child is fighting you about school, those are also really good signs that it's time to back off. It's time to get into that navigator role instead of in the driver's seat. And I know it seems scary. You're still a navigator. It's not like you've gotten out of the car, right? You're still there navigating. You're still there helping them. So your hands haven't completely left them. You're still there to step in if they need it, but you aren't actively trying to take that steering wheel from them. So that's a great analogy to try to imagine where you are in their schooling. Do you feel like a navigator, or do you feel like maybe you're stepping in and taking that steering wheel a little bit too much? And you don't want to take the steering wheel every time a bumpy road appears. Let them try it first. As long as it doesn't look like they're going to go off a cliff, it's probably fine. Might mess up or get the car a little dirty or cause a flat tire, all solvable, right? So don't always step in every time it gets a little rocky. Let them figure it out. most of the time, they'll figure it out. And then think of the confidence that comes from that. They will trust themselves. You will also then trust them. So you've got to give them that opportunity to take the wheel and make those mistakes and do things imperfectly. So let's talk about confidence. Some things that you can do to help foster confidence in your 6th through 12th grader. One is give them a chance to do things outside of your comfort zone. Their comfort zone, yes, too. But sometimes it's even harder for us to let them do things that are outside our comfort zone. And let them know that you believe in them, even if you don't. Fake it till you make it, right? Because they cannot believe in themselves without a parent believing in them first. So the more you can believe in them, the more they will believe in themselves. And it is a little scary at first, but most of the time children rise up and they grow so quickly when they have a parent that's trusting them and letting them do some things that might be a little bit out of comfort zones. Have faith that they can figure things out themselves. And if they're struggling through in school and there's a situation with a teacher and the teacher's not doing things, instead of stepping in and messaging that teacher or, figuring out, telling them what to do, ask them, well, what do you think you can do? How can you remedy this? Can you email the teacher? Offer suggestions as questions. But say, I think you can figure it out. You know the school better than I do. Give them, make them feel important. You know the school better than I do. You understand that teacher way more than I ever will. I have faith that you're going to be able to figure that out. And if you need me, I'm here. But why don't you try it first, see what happens? So just have faith in them as much as you can. And then trust and accept them even with those imperfections. Like I said, they aren't going to study right for every test. They aren't going to make the right choice as far as what homework to do or when or, things like that. That's okay. You accept them, you trust them, you'll figure it out. You can help them. Oh, yeah, that didn't work out. What can you do better next time? But don't judge them for those imperfections. They are part of life. And the more they can be imperfect and know that you're there to support them, oh man, right? Think of our own lives, like how great that feels when you've got somebody in your corner that even when you mess up and you do something stupid that you shouldn't have done, but somebody's there on the side going, it's all right. Life isn't perfect and you'll do better next time. Okay, so as far as drive, allow them chances to explore their own interests, even if that means they decide they're going to give up or decide they don't like it. Let them try it. And yes, you want to push them to try it a few times. Sometimes our kids are resistant or they have a bad day, like they go try basketball for the first time and they're horrible and then they want to quit. Yes, of course you're going to promote, we'll try it a few more times, but you can make a deal with them. How about at the end of the month, if you still, you've been the whole month, a couple times a week you're going and you still hate it by the end of the month, then, then we'll revisit this. But give them an opportunity to quit if things are terrible. It's okay. In fact, it is really important to know in life when it is time to quit. There are definitely times in life when it's time to quit and move on to something better. So you don't want them to keep wasting their time on something that they really, really hate and they don't feel like it's going to benefit them in the future. So make sure it's okay for them to have a little bit of that power and control over their interests and their sports and electives and things like that. Speaking of, give them choices over those electives, the sports and the clubs they want to join, even if you don't think they're going to like them or they're going to be beneficial. Even if they pick a club and you're going, oh, they're not going to like that. I honestly, my son is in rowing, and when he went to freshman orientation and in high school and they mentioned it, and my son was never really into sports. He tried a few, nothing ever worked. He kind of just was a kid who played video games and Legos and did stuff around the house. And he came home and said that there's 5-6 practices a week for 2.5 hours. And, if this goes on for the whole year, I was like, okay, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if he's gonna be able to handle that. That is a lot of practice. And I know how hard rowing is. And I just don't know if he loved it. I would never have guessed that he was the kind of kid that would have loved it. So let them try something, even if you don't think they're going to like it, or you think they're going to fail at it, or you think that it's not important to their future. Let them try it, right? Which goes to the next thing. Support their interests and passions because you never know where it will lead. I trust that your children have a passion and an interest in something for some reason that eventually will pan out. I think back to the hours that I spent playing things like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Sim City in high school, and then, Roller Coaster Tycoon was later in my 20s. I mean, I would be obsessed with those games. And now as an entrepreneur, I am literally doing those same things. Like, okay, what needs next? Traffic needs help. Now we need more commercial properties. Now we need to add some residential, and in Planet Coaster or Roller Coaster Tycoon, it was like, okay, we need more janitors, the garbage. We need now a new ride. We need people are saying they're hungry. That is what entrepreneurship is. It's constantly putting out, what's the next fire that needs to happen? What do I need to constantly do? So as silly as that was, my obsession with that, I know it gave me skills that help me now being able to multitask in that way. So just support their passions. It's okay. It's okay even if they're doing things because they love it. We deserve to have things that we love that are pointless to our futures, and that's okay. All right, for perseverance, they must have opportunities to fail or make mistakes and recover without you stepping in, which is what I was saying about the car analogy. If every time they come up to a challenge while they're driving and you step in and take it over, they will never get a chance to figure those things out for themselves. And they need a lot of practice doing that before they're out on their own, right? They need a lot of failure to recover from. So let that be okay. I know it's really hard, but you almost have to sit on your hand and just let it happen. Again, not to a huge detriment, not where they're going off a cliff, not where they're really, getting all F's and flunking out of school, obviously. But you're going to try to step back as much as possible. Let them make those mistakes. You can guide them through that recovery, but don't step in and do it for them. And then again, don't judge those failures. Don't judge the falls. Just help them through it. Support them. Tell them it's all right. We all make mistakes and you're going to figure this out and it's going to help you in the future. Make those mistakes positive. Find the lesson in those mistakes. Maybe even tell them, well, what did you learn from this? Now just think, you're never going to have to learn that again now. You've learned that. And that's what mistakes are for. But perseverance cannot come about without somebody failing a lot. And, think of some of the people who persevere the most. Many times their lives growing up were really, really the most difficult lives. And that pushed them to do that, right? So it's okay for them to have some difficulty in school, get a few bad grades, figure out how to bring those up themselves. Don't judge them for that. Just help them figure it out on the side. And then lastly, independence. Let go of monitoring schoolwork as much as you can. If you are still getting on the grade book and they're in 6th grade and you're still getting on daily, it's time to pull back. Once a week, maybe, even less than that if you can. If you think back to the days when most of us were young, before we had all these electronic grade books, my parents didn't know my grades until progress reports. I mean, I'd bring papers home, but progress reports so that's every 4 or 5 weeks is as often as my mom would know my grades. That's the whole point of progress reports, was to give us a chance halfway through the quarter to know what our grades are so we know how to bring them up at the end of the quarter. So I'm even saying wait just till progress report time. If you feel like, whoa, that's backing off, I've been doing every day, then pull back to once a week and then do that for a little bit, and then maybe try to pull back to every couple weeks, but try to pull back monitoring schoolwork once your kids are in middle school. What you can do instead is set up goals and then set up consequences together. Talk to them about, well, what grades do you want? How can I help you get those grades? What do you need to do to get those? What kind of things to make sure? If you want A's and B's, what do you need to do to make sure you get those? Yeah, a good homework schedule, that'll probably work. Making sure you get your assignments all turned in on time. Making sure you remember what you need from school to home. Talk to them about their goals. It's so much easier if they're their goals and they own those goals and these are the grades they want. Not you setting those goals for them, but if they set their goals, they're much more motivated to see, oh yeah, these are all the things I need to do to get those goals. Then you can say, okay, well, what happens if you end up with 4 missing assignments in a week? What should the consequence be that helps you get back on track? You're there as the parent to keep them on a good path. Consequences are just like gutter bumpers in bowling. They kind of help your child stay on the path that they want. So what are you doing to do that? Okay, so maybe you've had missing assignments. Maybe we take your phone away for a day or two while you get caught up, or we say no video games for a couple days until you're caught up, and then you can get back. They're friendly. They're on the side. They're supportive, right? But if they're setting those goals up themselves, that's giving them a sense of independence. They're figuring out how to get to those goals themselves. Those are all really great ways to promote independence. Let their school career be theirs, not yours, so they feel ownership. And by doing that, it might be things like, oh, that's so cool you're learning that. I could never do that. How are you doing? How's school feeling? You act like you don't really know anything about school. Oh, is that how they're doing it nowadays? Or, what are your grades looking like? How's that feeling for you? So you're really, again, that navigator, you're off on the side. How you doing? Is there anything else you need? But you're not stepping in for them. And then support their choices with enthusiasm on the sidelines. Oh, that's awesome. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, totally try that. See how that works. You're enthusiastic and you're supportive. You're still going to those parent conferences. You're checking in with the teacher, throughout the quarter as often it feels right, but you're not just stepping in and taking that ownership for them. They cannot have ownership over their schooling when a parent has ownership of it instead. So you've got to pull back and let school be theirs. And doing that, you're going to, stop monitoring as much. You're going to step and ask questions on the side and not act like you really know anything about it, because you don't. They're the ones that are going into that school every day. So all of these things are what's going to help your child have ownership. And then it's going to foster independence, perseverance, drive, and confidence, so that when they graduate, they are ready for college or vocational program or an internship. So they have all those qualities that are necessary. And not only do they feel proud of themselves, but you'll also feel proud of them as well. Homework, as always, is just a couple questions to take back to your partner if you have one, or just to take some time to ponder on your own so you can apply these things to your family. So number one, take some time, if you have a partner, with your partner, to decide what qualities you'd like your child to have at age 18. There might be even different ones that I've mentioned, and see if you can brainstorm ways that you can pull back and allow them to develop those. What are some things that, if you really get into a visualization of what they look like at 18 to 20, back that up a little bit. What are some things you feel like you need to do to let go a little bit and allow them to develop those skills? Number two, if this is a big change, right? If you're like, well, I'm going to step back monitoring school, but I've been monitoring school since kindergarten every day, and now I'm going to step back to once a week or once every other week. If that's a big change, definitely have a conversation with your child. Let them know, hey, I think I've been doing too much school for you, and you're at the age now that I think you can back off. I'm going to pull back. Are you okay with that? I'm thinking once a week instead of every day, and then let them know that you have faith in them. This is a great way to start fostering confidence as well. And then set up goals with them and plan how you can support those goals with structures and limits. Again, consequences and what can we do to make sure you are going to get where you want to go? So I'm not the one setting those goals for you. You should be. What goals do you want? How can I support you? So let them know you're going to step back into this navigator role. You want to make sure you're there for them. You don't want to pull back so much that they're floundering. So talk to them about what that feels like and looks like. It's amazing to me how many times I've seen parents do this, and the students are like, yeah, I do it myself. I'll do all of it. I've got it all. Some kids are ready, especially our strong-willed children, like they're ready. So if you've been fighting, if you have the type of child that when you've been grabbing that steering wheel, they've been fighting you on it, they're ready. Those children are ready. The ones that have been like, well, I'll just let go, let mom do it, they may need a little bit more help kind of gradually getting away from that. But your power-seeking kids, your strong-willed children, they are ready. So ask your child, how much do you want to take over school? How much do you want me to back off? And see what they say. But having conversations with your child is so important if you're going to make a huge change there. So hopefully this has given you some insights into how to promote some really great qualities in your children so that they can graduate high school and thrive in the real world, no matter what real world environment they are in. it can't hurt them to have confidence, perseverance, drive, and independence. So if you have questions or you would like more information, please reach out to me. And remember, if you're trying to back off, but you feel like if you back off completely, they're really going to flounder, I do offer coaching for that specific reason. So reach out to me. I can do virtual coaching. So even if you're not in the Orlando area, I can help you virtually. My email is kristentame@gmail.com. I also have a lot more free content. Please make sure you're subscribing on Apple, YouTube. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok as well. Tune into that, and please share with anyone that you think could benefit from this information. I know I want to get it out to as many parents as possible. All right, I am now doing my podcast once a month. Things have gotten a little bit busier for me, which is great. So about the third Monday of every month, I'm planning to release an episode. So make sure to tune in. I'll be back in about a month. And enjoy your hopefully nice, crisp fall weather, and I'll see you back in November. Bye-bye.